Support my content by becoming a patron on patreon.com/JaianMusic.
Hi guys, and welcome to a brand new episode of Anime Podcasters. I'm your co-host Hotshot Ginger, and with me I have the actual host, the main man, the one who brought this all together. You stole my line. It was gonna be you, and then you had to literally go be a dick.
Yeah, but that was so predictable, though. Yes, I am also here, the guy who literally has been on every episode.
I'm just gonna call him
Hi,
Chad.
guys. Chad is
now.
here.
You're Chad now, and
Hi,
Jaian
guys,
is Buck.
Hi guys, I'm Chad and this is Buck. We're doing Anime Buckcasters.
Yeah, we're renaming the channel and everything. How's it going, guys?
It's
good.
going. How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy. The topic today is going to be a good one. What are we talking about?
Today we are talking about the grandfather of all anime, the grandfather of action, sci-fi, somewhat horror, just general shonen anime, Akira.
Charlie Chaplin shorts.
Shut up.
Yes, we were talking about Akira. I'm very excited to talk about this, but before we get into that, we have some new visuals. Kyo, do you want to let us know what's going on with the video version of Anime Podcasters? What are we looking at right now?
We're looking at a brand new version of the podcast because we've kind of been working with just putting the plain picture or the thumbnail as the video. I thought it would be aesthetically more pleasing to do something that, I don't know, just looks different. Like, some people like to watch video versions of the podcast, or I figured we might as well give them something cool to look at while they're listening. For
sure. So you can thank GoProKyo for that.
Yeah.
And also, big announcement. I'm so excited to say this. Hotshot Kyo, Anime Podcasters, has hit 5,000 plays on iTunes and Spotify put together.
Woo!
I can't whistle, otherwise I would.
5,000 plays, Hotshot.
Awesome.
5,000!
5,000 times people have chosen willingly to listen to Jaden.
And Hotshot.
Yeah.
I'm not.
Remember that one fan who was like,
I'm not in every episode.
You are now.
It's all gonna be every episode that I'm not in.
But Kyo, talk about every episode. This is 3 in a row for you, huh?
Oh yeah.
Because you keep
I haven't been back in a
things
while.
he likes.
He
Things I
keeps-
know nothing about. Akira being one of them.
Until recently.
But you watched Akira.
I did watch Akira. I did watch it with Kyo the other day.
Yes, in preparation for the podcast. But Hotshot, from what I understand, you're not going to stick around the whole time. I'm guessing you didn't enjoy the anime, so let's just get into that a little bit.
We'll just start off with what Austin thought of it. Firstly,
This is
honestly,
literally my review. I don't know what happened, but it looked good.
did you pay attention?
No.
Why didn't you pay attention?
I didn't care.
Why is that? Is it because it was too much?
Too much, too convoluted for me. I was just like, I remember bikes, I remember psychic powers, I remember an unholy space baby. That's it. That's all I got. I couldn't even, the only name I can remember is K, and that's because it's literally just a letter. I don't remember any of the other names except Akira, obviously. Other than that, I know a bike, I know lasers, I know space baby, and I know psychic powers. So that's kind of the reason why I'm just kind of giving my 2 cents and then bouncing from the podcast, because even if I hear you guys talking about it, I still feel like I'm going to be in the I have no idea what language you guys are speaking kind of sense. So I did watch it, the action and everything I did enjoy, but I don't care.
Okay, no, honestly, completely fair. I have a couple of generic, don't worry, not intense questions for you, just because I like the perspective, because I feel like Kyo and I are on the side of this is amazing, this is a great anime, we love it, and you're literally on the 180, none of those things kind of apply. Not all of those things apply.
He didn't necessarily say that he didn't like it. He just said that there are parts of it you just didn't like.
Yeah, this evil teddy bear milk thing. Hospital.
Let's not give too much away about the plot.
It only took me 25 years to see it.
No, but so can you give me out of 10, Hotshot? Out of 10, honestly.
Honest to God,
Akira.
4. Yeah.
4. Wow. 4. Oh, I am okay. No, fair. Totally. Totally
I
feel that way.
The only reason I should say the only reason I have it that low, but that wouldn't be right. The only reason I have it that high is because I can see why people like it. I can see why they get into it, and it paved the way for all the anime that we know in modern age.
Mm-hmm.
But for someone who like has been hearing the hype and has been hearing it's the most iconic anime movie of all time, essentially, and stuff like this, and then for this to be my payoff, for it one just big ass mind fuck. I
warned you about that.
I know, but it just for me personally, it just left a lot to be desired. I can completely understand why fans love it. I'm just not one of them.
No, fair enough. And so it was the convolution of it all that really made it too complex, and therefore, like, you just didn't enjoy it. Is that
yeah?
accurate?
And I thought there'd be a lot more bikes. The bike only showed up like 3 times.
There were a lot of bikes, in my opinion.
Not really.
That movie makes me want a bike.
Most of it was psychic powers.
I mean, the first part, there's a lot of biking happening, but obviously we'll get more into that with Kyo. Okay, I have a couple more questions for you, Hotshot. I'll let you plug your stuff too.
Right,
Okay. Anyways, favorite character? Is it really just K because you remember K, or anything?
It's K because I remember K. I don't like the baby that looks like Donald Trump.
Oh my god.
I was gonna bring that up later. I didn't think you'd drop that one right away.
He just looks terrifying.
He just looks like him.
Hotshot, least favorite part of this whole thing.
The bear nightmare hospital thing.
Did you get any nightmares after watching it?
But I don't want milk or a teddy bear. Or a train. Or a car. Or any toys.
Alright.
Actually, no. I actually do have a least favorite scene. The one character that I actually did kind of like that was a side character, her death absorbed into the space baby's chin, or however she died, just crushed inside the big baby thing. The girlfriend character. I didn't like that scene because I liked her, and I didn't want a gory death for her, but that's what I got.
It's like, this is what you have, now deal with it.
Yeah, that's kind of how this entire movie was. This is happening, deal with it. So this is happening, deal with it, and I don't know what happened, but it looked cool. Those are my reviews for Akira.
Perfect. And last part, because we're going to talk about the music, but obviously I just wanted to ask your opinion on the music.
You're not going to like it.
Go ahead. It's okay.
It left a lot to be desired, in my opinion.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I think the music is so good in this anime. I could be speaking in a bias because I didn't care about the rest of the movie, so the music just didn't really have a shot with me. But I don't know, it just kind of felt like I could barely hear the music over the crashes, explosions, or just the atmosphere, environment noises kind of thing. Yeah, the ambiences.
Yeah. And when it came to the big orchestral, when the bad guy was actually revealed, I'm just he's been on screen for the past 20 minutes. Is this warranted? All he did was throw on a cape.
I can guarantee you only remember you'll remember 2 tracks out of this entire movie.
What tracks?
And then there's the other one. That's 100% the song.
Those are the actual tracks. Those are the actual tracks.
Songs, yeah.
You give me too much credit. I'm not remembering that at all.
That was in the beginning when the guy was getting shot at, or I guess it was kind of low, so maybe you didn't hear it.
I'll be honest, Akira was just one I watched, and we watched it, and I was just kind of gone from my head.
You're totally fair. Okay. Last question for you, Hotshot. You're a gamer. You love video games, right? Will you play the Akira video game?
Is that a thing?
That is a thing.
Is that a thing coming?
No, it's been out since 1990.
No. If I ever played it now, or even knew it was a thing, then no.
Hotshot, we need content for your channel.
I'm working on one, thank you. It will be out Halloween.
Good. All right, well, plug away, my friend.
No.
Oh, yeah, you're getting out of here. Shoot.
Anyway.
Yeah, well, do you don't want to plug?
Alright guys, you can usually find me here except for these 20-minute time frames where I'm just gone. And you can find me here at JaianMusic's channel doing anime podcasters with him. You can also find me over at my channel, Hotshot Ginger on YouTube. And like I said, there will be an upload, hopefully something spooky coming your way sometime in October. And you can also find me over on Twitter at Costume Ginger. And with that being said, I'm going to leave you guys to talk about what I have absolutely no idea how to actually help with this podcast. So I'm out.
Perfect. Do you want to tell the people what what the next topic is, real quick? Just because it's going to be me and you.
It is going to be me and you. It is going to be a good topic. Since like Jaden said, since I'm such a gamer, we're doing another video game podcast. And this one is going to be about Pokemon games. Specifically, the top 5 that I've played the most of. And Jaden's just going to chime in here and there with it.
Yeah, but I have a couple of favorites I want to.
All right, fine. We'll have some of your say on your podcast, but whatever.
All right. Hey, Hotshot. I want to say one thing though. I'm very happy you gave this anime a chance. I think that's really cool that you did that, because I understand that it wasn't maybe your thing, but you still watched the whole thing, and I appreciate you sharing your opinion regardless of you not enjoying the anime.
Yeah, no worries. I mean, I will say I had to pause it like 4 or 5 times to just let it sink in. But yeah, no, I did sit through the whole thing, and like I said, it's not like I disliked the entire thing, but yeah, it's just not really my style.
Totally fair. All right, thank you so much, Hotshot.
All right, later, guys.
I am ready. All right, so Kyo, just you and I now. Let's start with this. Let's start with your first impressions and your general thoughts on the Akira.
I guess I'll go ahead and just say before we go too deep into this, let's just let people know if you guys want to watch the most recent dub of Akira, you guys can find it on Hulu Instant, and if you guys want to support the creators of this film, go ahead and check out the web store, Anime Corner Store. They sell a lot of really good priced anime. They also sell it on Blu-ray, so if you guys want to get a Blu-ray copy of Akira, please go ahead and check those guys out. And yeah, just so before we get it too deep into it, I just want to let you guys know 100% spoilers. Beyond this point, I'm just gonna say I personally recommend it if you are in, like, honestly, Akira is one of those movies that is kind of it's kind of a rite of passage for anime fans. I feel like even if you're not a huge anime fan, you still should at least see it once. Like, you don't even have to like it as much or all that much. Like, obviously Austin likes anime, but it wasn't his favorite movie. Anyway, yeah, sorry to go off on a tangent there. Yeah.
No, totally good points that you're bringing up. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I'll go ahead and start with my history with the movie. So I heard about the movie in around the middle of high school. I was taking a film class, and the professor brought up Akira at one point. Like, we didn't go too deep into it. He just talked about how he said Akira is a really great movie because of its interesting relationship dynamics, and I was interested in it because I had heard the name go around a few times before that classroom session, and I seeked it out. There was a copy of it over at the local library. I rented it. It was not a great experience for somebody who is like into the well-structured, really good anime that we're used to nowadays, because like it's a lot to get through when you first watch it. I'm not gonna lie,
it's rough around the
it really
edges,
is. Yeah, like we'll go into like why that is later, but I will admit, the first time I saw it, I stopped at the hospital scene, the hallucination scene where the bear rose up from like the foot of his bed, and it freaked me out so much. I'm like, what am I why am I watching this? I'm like, bear in mind, I'm 17 at this point, so like I didn't even like horror at the time, but I still was so weirded and freaked out by it. But I'm also totally aware that it's just hand drawn, so I think that kind of speaks a testament to how creepy 2D animation can still be.
I was just like Tetsuo's going through a lot right now, and now this, like, enough. Like, this guy, he's just like the punching bag the entire way through this movie, and he has these hallucinations and the infection, and at the very end where he just gets he just becomes this big, massive skin organ creation. We actually did a podcast on anime transformations, and I picked that transformation because it was so what do you need to be on to create this, Kyo?
Nothing. You just have to be super creative.
It's so good.
Yeah, you know, like everybody always asks stuff like that, and like and people are just like, "What kind of drugs were you on when you did that?" I'm like, "None. I just thought of something creepy and fucked up."
No, definitely. I want to talk about how I got into the
go ahead.
the anime. So it was brought up to me. I don't want to go too much into like the details of like how I found
Right.
it. Anyway, okay. Basically, I was moving to Montreal and I was looking for apartments. And one weekend, I stayed over at a friend's, and she was there, and she hates anime, but her roommate really loved anime, so we obviously ended up talking about anime. And then he brought up Akira, and I'm like, "What's that? I never heard about Akira." He's like, "Bro, you've never heard about Akira, but you podcast about anime and you make anime song covers."
How far into the podcast was this?
This was when Yuki was still a host, so this was pretty early on.
So you hadn't seen it. So you didn't see it like before we saw the show or started the show, did you? Really?
No.
Huh.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
So
yeah.
No, for sure. So I'm like, well, what is it? And then he shows me a trailer, and the explosion at the very beginning was in the trailer. I'm like, I don't know what that is, but I'm gonna watch that tonight. So I watched it, and I was blown away by just how creepy and intense, and the atmosphere is just so. It's gross. But the stench is just like, you want to know why it's gross, and what are these kids fighting for? What's going on in this Neo Tokyo? And just starting to like, I feel like this anime, one thing it does really well is that the plot develops so naturally that it's so easy to just fall and streamline through the anime and just okay, what's gonna happen next? And you're kind of hooked. For me, I was kind of hooked, and no, I was entirely hooked. Sorry, and I didn't know what was gonna happen next, and I wanted to know, and it just kept coming and piling on, and this felt like a very like slow but great burn that at the end just explodes. That was the way like the structure of the anime felt to me. So yeah, that's how I got it. I got into it.
Yeah, interesting.
Definitely. So should we take it to? I don't know. I like talking about like main characters is always a good way for me to break down the anime, because we can kind of go over the grand scope of things. Are you down with that? All right. So, what were your initial thoughts on Tetsuo? This poor boy.
Honestly, I kind of slowly realized, like, after watching this movie for the first time, that that Tetsuo is kind of the origin of the quote unquote emo rival, like the tough guy, or the person who's trying everything humanly possible to be the strong and edgy character. I feel like he's the reason that we have like characters like Sasuke and Vegeta, honestly.
Or Hiei, but yes.
Yeah, just
absolutely.
the character who's kind of the antithesis of the main character or the protagonist. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like a lot of the film's appeal was kind of like at the time, because like this was one of the only R-rated animated films to come out in America. This is out of a total of 40 known animated R-rated movies.
Right.
But to answer the real question, I guess I found Tetsuo okay. I think what I like more about Tetsuo is kind of his gradual change from being the kid who wants to prove himself to being the psychotic person who craves power.
Definitely. I really felt like for at the beginning, I thought him and Canada felt like the heroes that were gonna fight against the government or against the project. That's what the setup I thought. But not quickly, but when he gets infected and put into the hospital and these experiences start happening to him and these hallucinations, blah blah, I feel like that severed the bond between Kaneda and Tetsuo, and you really saw that Tetsuo was going to become the antagonist, and the protagonist was really going to be Canada. That's how the structure, like the narrative structure, felt to me, like as this character was developing. Because basically, the thing with this, it's a movie. It's not like an episodic thing. Like one thing happens after another in one sitting. So there's no like, oh, what's gonna happen next week? No, it's happening right now. And so you really saw like a natural separation, and at the end they kind of come back together, but they don't. What did you think about that whole structure in the narrative?
I don't know. Like I actually didn't, or like I feel like this was one of those movies where I just kind of let it go the direction that it wanted to go. And I didn't have any necessarily expectations for it when I watched it, because when I saw it, I hadn't seen like any other movies that were kind of like this. Because there are other movies kind of like this. There's like Ghost in the Shell, Metropolis, like other cyberpunk movies that came out afterwards. But story structure, I thought it was really interesting how like it's surprisingly unconventional. But there are a couple of problems with it. Because like firstly, you don't know what's going on with the like what all the rioting is for. Like I guess that you can kind of make a guess as to what is like what's going on. You just kind of assume like they want change, there's an uprising, they're trying to like it's just extremists are just like trying to push for a change in the world. I also found it was a little strange how like the experimented kids, their exact reason for finding Akira was not entirely clear, because like they clearly knew where he was, but they never actually like set out and went there, because they clearly could leave anytime they wanted to, because they have the power to do so.
Yeah, I felt like, just to interject really quickly, I felt like they didn't know what Akira was to them. Is he a god? Is he an ally? Is he an enemy? I felt like their perception was blurred, and that's why they were kind of hesitant in their actions against or for
I can
Akira.
see.
That's what I understood.
Yeah, I can see that. It's just like I feel like there should have been a more clear answer for like. I feel like it should have been brought forward a little more clearly, like because it's not because like they're saying they don't want anybody to find him, but they also want to find him, but they also know where he is. Like that's one of those problems that I have with the movie. But beyond that, and some of the like the stuff that I think requires more delving into, that would require a series, like the whole like what's the political climate like, what's the world kind of like. I guess they actually kind of show what their world is like, in the sense that like there's anarchy, there's uprising, there's people unwilling to cooperate with the way that the government works. So like you get kind of a dystopian future, and it just I feel like the world is set up fine, but the only thing is like there's not enough explained about some of those elements to make it a really strong narrative.
I definitely want to comment on that, but something I want to mention before, because you said the unconventional as a word to describe it. Let me ask you this: do you feel like there's an avant-garde ambience to this movie, where it's very unorthodox and it's an extremely experimental? Literally, the kids get experimented on.
Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like avant-garde would be a good way to describe it in relating to the unconvention of the structure in the anime?
I would say so, yeah. I think it's interesting to me how they what I found really unconventional was the fact that they really showed how how Kaneda and his friends' lives are kind of like halted, and they have to go out of their way to find their friend, and it just kind of shows like how out of nowhere and how like abrupt that kind of situation would be. Like just they're just doing their own thing, but somehow out of nowhere, something that's completely unrelated to them and they're completely innocent of just happens to come to like clash with them. That being the experimental kid, Takashi.
Right, Takashi. Did you want to maybe do you want to talk a bit about Kaneda a little bit here? Just because I feel like if we're gonna mention Tetsu, Kaneda is obviously. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I heard Kanda for some reason. I don't know why.
Sorry, Kaneda. Sorry,
yeah.
maybe
it's three syllables.
Kaneda.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Kaneda? No, go ahead.
I like Kaneda. I thought he was a really good. I really enjoyed the fact that he was not the typical like Naruto or Goku type of character. He wasn't the. He was kind of one of those rebel without a cause / characters with a strong moral compass. You know what I mean?
Like it's his will, his heart, his emotions carry him throughout. His pursuit for Tetsuo or whatever goal he has in mind. No, definitely. Was that all you had to say?
Honestly, yeah. I feel like what really connects to people to this movie and these characters is just how simple they are. They don't have to be incredibly complex. I would have liked it if we got to see a little bit more of them, get to know their relationship or the relationship between the two of them a little better. But at the same time, I do love kind of the lack of explanation between Kaneda and Tetsuo. Like you kind of get the idea of like what their relationship is just through their dialogue with each other. So in that aspect, I think that they're complex and they're deep enough to kind of hold your attention.
No, definitely. I just want to touch a little bit on like what he was like his personality and the way that he acted. Like I felt like Defiance was definitely like he doesn't want to like agree with his government or agree with these rules. He's got his gang. He's a bit of the leader, like the head honcho here, and he's going against the grain. And you can see that with the way that he's being very like rebellious. Like he doesn't want to agree with the norms. He's once again like I don't know if like anarchy is the good way to describe it, but like unconventional, unorthodox are definitely words that could relate to him.
Yeah.
But then like I felt like he had this like just because he was the leader, and I feel like a leader needs to have this quality, but he was like definitely like cocky, like he thought he was the best, like Canada, no one beats Canada, like tough, but like at the same time like I felt like the way he stood up for himself.
I think it's more so that Kaneda just has a lot of confidence, and he's very clearly street smart. Like there's a reason. There's an obvious reason.
Yes.
There's an obvious reason that he's the leader of the gang because especially the scene where you see Tetsuo kicking the crap out of the guy who chased him and his girlfriend down while they were on his bike.
Yeah, when they took the bike.
And Kaneda's like, You've proved your point, or he's basically just saying, dude, you proved your point. You don't have to kill him to prove anything.
Yeah, exactly.
A message is sent better when there are people to share it,
Yes.
That's what I got out of that scene. But I think that Kaneda is very clearly, I guess cocky is a good word for it, but like he's enjoyably cocky in a sense that like he's not so cocky that he's obnoxious about it. I think, or like there's kind of a nice balance between him being smart,
the fine line
and
between
not,
cocky and confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and he walks it very, very naturally, I feel like.
Yeah.
And the other thing, he stood up against Tetsuo at the end, where he really wanted to help him out. Like, I feel like independence was definitely a part of his character as well.
Yeah.
Just because he was there, and he's like, I'm gonna help you, man. You've been loyal to me, and like, he obviously when you're in a gang, and loyalty is always like one of those key terms that the gang, we're loyal to each other, to one another. Like this is what we do. So definitely a good way to describe him, I feel like, was independent.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Do you want to talk a little bit about Kaori, the love interest for Tetsuo, the girlfriend? The girlfriend has as Hotshot described.
I don't know what to say other than she had probably the best death movie.
Oh man.
Or like
I
can say that.
Describe her death. What did you think about her death? Let's go there. Screw it. You mentioned it. We're going there.
Okay.
What happens in the movie?
Okay. I guess we're going there. There's almost nothing to Kaori, I think. Like, I feel like she's literally just there to give Tetsuo somebody to talk to, or like somebody for him to protect. She feels very much like a tool as compared to like the other characters who are, actual characters. But
yes.
I was she's one of those characters where you don't hate her, but you also don't really care what happens to that character, in the sense that like if they just leave the movie out of nowhere, you won't care and you won't remember. but at the same time, I didn't feel like she deserved that horrifying death, which I think was kind of really well drawn, admittedly.
Oh man, like just all those organs, just like
Yeah.
like oh man.
A cool thing about this is like there's a really strong sense of weight to everything, especially with that scene. Like you can definitely see like the muscles and the organs or whatever just like clench down in a sense that it looks like it actually has weight and pressure to it.
Yes.
That's honestly all I've got to say about Kaori. I don't care about Kaori. She didn't do anything.
No, definitely. I felt like Tetsuo kind of like bullied her, or like was like mean to her to like seem tough to his friends a little bit. Like,
they kind of did
like,
that felt kind of like a 50s like Grease thing where like the guys are a little bit like kind of assholes to their girlfriends.
Oh, completely. Yeah.
Yeah, like I felt like that was just a character trait, but like Tetsuo is like such a brat about everything that like it just Tetsuo is just kind of a little piece of shit to begin with, you know?
Bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Delinquent. What did you think about K? The one character Hotshot remembers, K, because it's one letter. Actually, it's spelled K-E-I, by the way.
Yeah, I know. I had a feeling. There's always two extra vowels in that.
This
in those
isn't some
names,
Death Note stuff here.
Anyway, I liked Kay. I like that they somehow expressed her passion and her desire to be a part of that resistance, although at the same time there's not enough to understand why there's a resistance, but I'm not gonna go too much into that. But like whoever played her in the dub that I listened to was really good at portraying the character in a way that like there wasn't a whole lot to go off of, but they still pulled it off really well.
No, definitely. To me, Kay just felt like she obviously had that double agent role going on here.
Yeah, kinda.
And when Kaneda like connects with her, we're like, oh, she's like, oh, new ally, maybe a love interest. No. Like, we're using you. We have a goal. The resistance is gonna make this happen, and you're just a mean to an end. And then we see that they develop more of a bond where the resistance is about to kill Kaneda, and she goes, no, he can help us. He can help us.
Yeah.
Believe me. So it kind of like opens a back door in the anime where, oh, where are we going here? Like, we were going to the straight line, and now we're dropping down here. Betrayal. What's going on? Like, these two groups are kind of merging. Can they find a common interest? What's going on? So I felt like the existence of the resistance, where there's not much described to like there was a group. There was like about 3-4 of them.
Yeah.
They were called the resistance. They work together. They have a goal. Very generic things here. But at the same time, I like that this group existed because it kind of added a layer of complexity to the anime, which adds to why it's convoluted, because these groups are everywhere and they have different goals. They have like different ways to get to that goal, and they don't obviously all agree because we live in Neo Tokyo for a reason. So I understand, like the more and more we're talking about it, I watched this anime twice and I'm a big fan of it, but I understand Hotshot's point of the convolution being too much. Like, if you're sitting through this the first time and you don't get hooked in, like, it's gonna be painful to get through the rest.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is for me. So yeah, that was kind of all the way what I saw with her. Anything else you wanted to mention?
No, I feel like we've covered it.
Perfect. Any other character we should talk about here? Should we just talk to Takashi? I think we should talk about Takashi. Definitely.
Honestly, I don't feel like there's a whole lot to just him on his own. I feel like we could just like talk about the experimented kids in general.
Okay, so experimented kids / Takashi. What are your thoughts on that? Let's start with you.
Honestly, they were like I said earlier, they're the ones that like made the movie even more complicated, and just like they didn't really go anywhere until like the end of the movie. So like they were very clearly crucial to the plot, but at the same time there's not enough explanation to them other than you kind of get the idea, but unlike the rest of the movie where there's like a lot of it is all visual and you kind of have to make implication, or like it's kind of up to implication in a way that you kind of have to put the pieces together yourself. But
they're part of the puzzle.
Yeah. That's one of the things I really liked about this movie, is that like nothing is really spoon-fed to you in a sense. but at the same time, there are some parts where you kind of have to you kind of have to like spoon feed your audience just a little bit. It's just like you kind of have to ease people into it. It's like riding a bike. You have to start with the training wheels, and then you have to let them get used to it. And yeah, sure. Yeah, do you think Tetsuo had training wheels on his bike, like his motorbike?
Oh, definitely. He for sure. He had for the front wheel and the back wheels. He had 4 training wheels.
I'm picturing him with with training wheels on both ends of the bike.
And a little bell, ding ding. Yeah, guys, wait up. We're gonna take
everyone
it down,
else
guys.
is on their everyone else is on their motorbikes, but he's still on like
He's
a
got a water
tricycle.
pistol.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna contribute. Sorry.
Yeah.
Right there.
Oh my god.
So yeah, but don't. May I go ahead?
Yeah, go ahead. I feel like you had more to
Okay.
say about the kid. You have more to say about the kids than I do because I didn't really say a whole lot.
No, for sure. Like their appearance was very creepy. So like starting with Takashi, he seemed like very shy and didn't like want to get too involved. He kind of existed, and then they were like, "What's Akira? Where is Akira?" And I feel like people pointed at him, like kind of pointing at him, like, "What's the answer? What's going on here?" And then you had Kyoko. Kyoko, like, to me was like another like gentle character was a good way to describe her. Like they're kind of like they're only pushed and they only attack when they're forced to.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they're very passive people. And then the last one, which I didn't really understand, was Masaru. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think you got that right, but honestly, they never really said his name a whole lot.
No, exactly. And like the 3 of them kind of just worked together to like try to put like Tetsuo down, but nothing was working really, and they all kind of like not meet their doom, but they definitely like get like pushed way back. Like it's hard for them. So that's kind of just like the generic overview I had on them.
Yeah, I actually do have a couple of things that I had on those two.
Yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
Firstly, the fat one, Masahiro. That's just a Trump baby. That just looks like Donald Trump. I
don't see it.
Yeah, I totally see it. I showed it to Austin, and he saw him appear, and the first thing he said was, "That just looks like Trump," and I'm like, "I know it does."
Right, but do you really think they used Donald Trump?
No,
as a
obviously
design?
not. I'm just saying there's an uncanny resemblance between the two of them. They have.
So you're saying Donald Trump was designed by this baby or from this baby?
No, I said that there's a possibility that that's not
Donald
what I mean.
Trump is in purple.
They're blue.
No, I'm kidding. They're blue-purple. I have different coloring on my TV. The RGB is different for me. Okay, anyways.
I don't know if you had noticed this, but did you notice that Kyoko looks a little bit different from the other two? Or like there's a small detail I bet you didn't notice about them.
Like her eyes?
No. They so when they animated Kyoko, they specifically animated her with very light lines. So like her lines are very thin and frail, and which was supposed to give off the idea that she is that she's more fragile, that she's less durable, and she's not really able to do a whole lot like physically.
I see.
So
I
like
did not notice that.
Yeah, there are some shots where her outlines are colored, others where it's like a very thin, faded gray. But for the most part, like if you look at those two, or like Takashi and Kyoko back to back, their line arts are completely different colors.
Well, I only noticed that now. I'm not the visual one.
Yeah,
I'm not
I know.
the visual.
That's what I'm here for.
No, definitely. Do you wanna? Is there any other characters you wanted to mention?
I don't think so. There's not a whole lot.
All right.
There's a fair deal of characters. There's just not enough character in those characters.
Right. I had a confusion where like the character Akira, like we see him like we see him in the anime.
Right.
Like what was his whole deal? Like that was something I after two rewatches where like the convolution of it, like I didn't understand that part. Like could you explain that a little bit maybe for other people who don't understand it?
I think that, or my best guess is that like what the flashback was just trying to show is that he was the one who showed the most promise and most power with the psychic experiments that they were doing on the kids.
Right,
so
right.
like once he reached his peak, they did like according to the general, they did every kind of procedure on him to either keep him alive or just to preserve his body. And I guess at the end that it's supposed to show a transcendence of physical being, and my best guess is that the idea is that he transcends physicality and is made of pure energy.
Okay, no, fair enough. I think we should
like
start really getting
if I
into,
had to explain it like so deeply, I feel like the movie didn't understand it either. So
No. I get it. I have a better idea, so it's all good. But I want to maybe talk about like I feel like we need to talk about the action and like specifically the end here, like with like Tetsuo going crazy and everything. Oh, okay. What were your thoughts on the action? Just all of it.
For the first thing that drew me in when I first saw this movie, again I was 17. I was fresh off of watching like the. Basically shows that were kind of like Trigun at the time. Like I had gotten into stuff like D. Gray Man. I had seen Gun X Sword, Black Blood Brothers, just stuff that's like very, very action oriented. And so I was easily drawn in by the action in the beginning of the movie, especially the bike chase scene. The beginning of the movie is the best way to open a movie, in my opinion. Like just drop us into this world and just let us look at it. Like, let us just, like, take in the world around us, or, like, just take in the world that we're in and see what, see how people react to it. And just, on top of that, I really like the whole, I feel like there could have been a little bit more action between the two bike gangs in there, because, like, I really liked seeing them kind of beat the crap out of each other with like just pipes on motorcycles. Like this is
it was so great.
Yeah.
You could feel the rivalry in the hits.
Yeah,
I don't know if that makes any sense.
You feel the whole thing.
Like
you feel the whole
anger.
thing just by like you feel like the relationship between these guys without like having to say a whole lot.
It's so strange.
Yeah.
Like it's so like I hate you. No, I hate you. Oh yeah. Like sorry. Anyways, yeah, that was definitely something like I felt.
Like that's that the opening of the movie is definitely a highlight. I think the second to the last half of it where like Tetsuo comes out of the hospital and he puts on the cape. Like obviously that's a very iconic image for starters, and just the whole scene where he like uses his powers against like military tanks and soldiers, like those are definitely highlights for the movie as well.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
like, I really felt
the really cool thing I thought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna like translate it back to like Tetsuo, and I really want to talk about like his powers too. Like the end of that movie where he just crushes that bridge and people are everywhere and everyone's firing at him. It does nothing. Try again. Nothing. Try again. Nothing. And he just becomes like all these organs.
It feels like the beginning of every Godzilla movie where they use the same weapons against Godzilla and it doesn't do anything. They just repeat it.
We tried it in the last movie. Let's try it again. You know what they describe insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result.
Exactly.
So, like rethink your methods, bro.
Yeah.
Oh my god, but Tetsuo's like, oh dude, like in Canada, like just trying and jumping around, it's not enough, and it was just there was so much good stuff happening here, and the I really like how it's crazy too.
Yeah, I really like how the animation portrayed like the psychic powers. There was a lot of there's a lot of shots where you see like the dust like move around like or like an invisible circular force or something like that, and it looks like you kind of see like where he's focusing his energy and he's holding something in a certain place, or just you really get an idea of like where his power, or like where he's focusing that energy. I really love like the shot that I especially think of when I think of that is the where he gets shot at by the tank and the giant bullet is flying towards him and it stops midair and you see the dust go up around it.
Oh man, it was just so intense, and it was just like this slow burn that has like explosions throughout it, and at the end it just goes crazy.
Tetsuo just feels like a force of nature, like in the second half of the movie. Like he's,
oh my god, yeah.
It's kind of like watching Sasuke go from being whiny and kind of cool to being actually cool. like in Shippuden.
Definitely.
Except I think Tetsuo is cooler, but
Tetsuo's. I'm sorry, but yes, agreed.
I don't
100%.
necessarily like Tetsuo's character, but I do have to say I visually adore the second half of the movie where he's like just mowing down soldiers and just not giving two shits about anything.
I really am beating myself up here where I didn't choose him for like a greatest anime villains podcast yet.
I don't know if you would call him a villain though, because like there's no real like clear villain in this movie.
He's the antagonist.
He's a antagonist, but like he's
the antagonist of the movie.
Yeah, but I wouldn't really say he's a villain necessarily. I would say he's more of a victim of pure circumstance. Like he starts out
him to be villainous though.
Huh?
This victim of pure circumstance causes him to be villainous. Look at all the people he harms, all the horrible things he does. Obviously,
I didn't say that makes him I didn't say that makes him a good person. I'm thinking that like you don't really see, or like I think what makes a villain is when they force things onto other people, and like if they don't agree with that, or like if those people don't agree with them. I think that that's just my way of thinking it. But He really is mostly just in that situation because Takashi was trying to escape the nursery or whatever. So like if Takashi hadn't been there in the first place, none of this would have happened in the first place,
No, fair point. But at the same time, what I would like to add is that yes, it's like the villains force things and everything. I get that, but I feel like different recipes for different villains. I think he qualifies here. Yeah, I wouldn't say like he's like a Frieza. Like he's not full on villain, but he has like villainous traits which qualifies him to be a villain. In my opinion, is how I see it. Because I'm sorry, but he still like commits crimes and evil acts. Like a villain does that, not a hero.
I never saw him as a hero. I'm just saying like I think that there's another layer. I think that there's another layer to it aside from him just being evil. Like I feel like it's more so that he's just not in a right mindset when like his power starts going to his head in a sense. Like in that way I do understand, and I do see him technically as the villain of the movie, but it's still the way they show show Tetsuo's the way they show Tetsuo's progression is It really does show him from like point A to point B. Like you really do see like what leads him from what point to the next point. So there's really kind of a character study from like when you get the flashback, and then you get like if you watch this movie a second time after seeing the flashback at the end of the movie, you kind of get the character a little bit better, I think.
No, fair point. I actually to cap off this whole villain discussion. If I wanna on a spectrum here, okay, Kyo? 0 being hero, 0 being like the good guy,
right,
like the main shonen villain, and 10 being like the horrible villain. Where do you place him?
I want to say 6.5, if not 7.
Okay, so I feel like we do have common ground. I was gonna say 7.
I totally agree that he's the villain, but at the same time, I don't classify him as a villain. Does that make sense?
I do see what you mean, because you have your own definition of villain, and he doesn't fall in it.
Yeah, that's mostly my thought process on that. Like that's the only reason that I don't really see him as a villain. Like, I feel like a good like a villain that you love to hate is the ones that you don't really see them becoming the villain. Like the whole Batman thing, live long enough to become the villain. That whole saying. Yeah. Like I don't really see it that way, because like you kind of grow attached to that character, and in a sense you still kind of see the little shred of humanity in them. That's honestly my only reason that I don't fully classify him as a villain.
I get that. I think we should start getting in. I want to talk about the music a little bit.
Yeah, I wanted to hear your thoughts on that, because like because like I brought up what the music was, and you're like, oh yeah, so that's what that is.
Yeah, so basically, re-listening to the soundtrack like I did earlier, like this.
Did you listen to it on its own, like outside of the movie?
Yeah. I
cool.
I streamed several of the tracks, not all of it.
Right.
For the interested, there's a Akira original soundtrack symphonized suite Akira. It's the genres fall. So basically, the two influences are Indonesian gamelan music, which you can definitely hear it in the percussion and the bells and the symphonies and the orchestration. Like you can hear that influence. But then it also had this other genre called no music, NOH. I didn't know. No pun intended. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I was not aware that this genre existed, so I looked more into it, and it's really interested to see the structure in this music. It's basically how can I explain? It's like it's music that you find like in classical Japanese musical dramas. It's really great, and I just felt like the influence between the two, the merger was really great. How can I get, like, the textures? We have so many instruments playing, and you can really feel like the orchestra's there, like, and they're watching the movie with you, and it's rising, so dun, and like those sustained dynamics are strong, and I was nerding out with this music track. Like, obviously I'm the music guy, you're the visual guy. It was so great. It was so good. I don't want to go all like talking about like with my experience in my studies, because I could talk about it for hours.
Yeah.
But generic thoughts. Those are my generic thoughts on general thoughts. Sorry, on the music. What about you? For sure.
Here's something that I did notice about the movie. So like first time I watched it, when I listened to the soundtrack, I was like, okay, this is different, but I don't know why. And then I rewatched it again about a week ago or so to prepare for this podcast. And I wanted to know, like, what is your the big reason that it's different is because like the typical music that you hear in most movies nowadays is like the like symphony orchestras, like more so like European music, like mostly like English or British centrified music,
Right, like American is.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Either way, just like basically like what you would hear in Star Wars is probably what you would hear in like pretty much every other movie. So like, what are your thoughts on like how do you think that the different style of music complemented the movie?
So basically, here's what I saw. I saw that like this American, this like Western type of symphony present in other anime movies. Like it's very it's like the genre, the musical structure is common, right? But
not to say that there's anything wrong with that necessarily.
No,
but like
it's more
in this sense,
popular.
in this sense, we're saying that like or like just why this music track stands out compared to like those other like average anime movies.
The reason why it stands out is because like this avant-garde, unconventional, and archaic anime needed a different type of music, a different type of influence in the Indonesian like gamelan music. Like just I feel like if I was there in the pre-production rooms at the time, I wasn't even born back then, but I feel like they were searching genre, like what's like, this is not Tokyo, this is Neo Tokyo. It's all different. It's a different setting. It's not normal. And Indonesian gamelan music honestly is not like that touched upon in anime. I feel like I don't know many animes that utilize that kind of musical influence. So I feel like that's how it complemented each other, like how they both went together.
Do you think that if Akira used like a typical symphony or orchestra of some kind, do you think that would have harmed the movie in a sense?
I don't know if it would have harmed the movie. It would have given a different result. The thing is, like, music is a subjective thing.
Very clearly, music is subjective. But like, I'm just wondering, like, what's your, or like, do you think that if it used like a generic, like, just a generic orchestra,
the score, I understand what you're
like
saying.
John Williams, Hans Zimmer, like Danny Elfman, those kinds of musicians.
It definitely. I feel like the natural answer is yes. But once again, at the same time, because it's so different, and the Indonesian gamelan music is just, it's also like not as it's more uncommon. So it felt more with the narrative and the ambience of the overall anime. So in the atmosphere. So yeah.
I especially really liked the music like during the the bike chase scene in the beginning of the movie. Like, I feel like
It was so.
I feel like that
Yeah,
track
yeah.
especially set the mood for like what kind of music you were going to be in for the rest of the movie.
The rhythmically, it really flowed with the imagery and how the animation was going.
Yeah.
Like you really felt the tense, and then like I felt like the speed was right, just the tempo, like the way it was mapped out, and like digitally, like in a DAW or whatever. Like I feel like it was really well paced. So yeah, I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
So those are all of my thoughts. Did you have anything else?
No, I don't have any more questions. I just wanted to like get your thoughts on that, honestly.
No, for sure. All right, so let's get into final thoughts here. Actually, since we talked about the music, real quick on the animation, what were your thoughts?
So there's a couple of things about the movie. Firstly, this is one of the last few movies at the time to use hand-drawn animation. Now, before I go on about that, let me just clarify, like, hand-drawn animation is when it's drawn on paper, like, physically, and then basically you take the drawings, you put them on a special kind of film. It's a special kind of plastic, basically. Like, you paint it from meticulously, piece by piece, and then you put it together, like, literally, like, you put millions of drawings together, and especially since this movie is... We keep using the word unconventional for this movie, and I think that's the best way to describe Akira in general, you know?
Oh, so true.
Yeah.
So true. Like, I don't want to overuse it, but yes, absolutely.
So, like, adding on to the theme of, like, Akira being a very unconventional movie, this is one of the only animated movies from Japan that actually animated to its language. So, like, if you watch any other anime movie or hand-drawn cartoon or film from that time era, like before 1988, you would find that they have, like, the three little mouth movements. It just opens and closes, and on occasion there's, like, an O or an E or, like, an mouth shape or whatever. But in this, there's very clearly a focus on making Akira distinctly Japanese, which admittedly is something of a problem when they brought it over to America for dubbing.
Dub.
But at the same time, that's part of the charm of the movie. For one, I just prefer the English dub, but also there's a little bit of history to the voiceover, which I can go into that a little bit later. But ultimately, what you should take away from this movie is that everything you see in that movie, nothing was done on computer. So, like, all the drawings that I do for Jaian and his website, his Facebook, these videos even, these are all done in computer. So, like, and admittedly, I use hand-drawn paper. I sketch it out, and then I put it in the computer. Basically, basically, in other words, if I didn't use computers, I would basically have to make everything on, like, a video thumbnail or on his banner from scratch, on, like, physically, and then scan it into a computer and then send it to him. Because, like, let's say that there's no Photoshop or something like that. Like, just, like, there's no way to draw anything on the computer. Because at the time, there was no way to do any of that. That was all drawn without computers. It was, or, like, the backgrounds were hand-painted. The animation is 100%, like, drawn on paper and then brought into cell animation. It is easily, obviously, the most meticulous movie ever made. And on top of that, let's bear in mind that this movie was 2 hours long. The average movie is like an hour and a half, like, nowadays.
No, exactly. I just wanted to say on the lip sync, the ADR, like, the charm of it, like, when you see it done, like, I knew something was off, but I didn't know it was that specifically.
Yeah.
Interesting to know. So, yeah, no, absolutely. But
in
I
terms
think
of
we should...
in terms of the audio, so, like, here's a small fact I don't know if you know. So, like, I actually gotta start this with a question. What version of the movie have you seen? Like, which or what language of the movie have you seen?
dubbed.
Okay, so you've seen it dubbed.
Yeah. I've
do you
watched it
recognize
dubbed.
Do you recognize who the how did you watch it recently? Did you watch it online or
Yeah, online, and I watched it subbed to the second.
Okay. So was it, or did you recognize who the main actor was? Did it sound like Vash or Vash
Actually, I didn't
Sandeep?
look into that. No, but was it Vash?
So here's the thing. There are 2 English dubs for this movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So like the one where you have the voice actor for Vash in there, that was one of his first English roles or voice acting roles
Okay.
before or like after he did Vash, I think. So the first version is called the Streamline dub, which was made by Pioneer or as a company called Pioneer back in 1990. And they are that version of the movie is so awful because they will, or like obviously the lip sync is very hard to match. Like the ADR is really difficult in this movie because of the animation. So like they will stretch out the words really in like the worst places possible instead of like trying to like match it properly with the, or like try to change up the lines or something. But the second one is the one with Johnny Young Bosch as Kaneda. So like the second one is a lot better. That's the one that you guys can find on Hulu if you want to watch that one. If you want to find the Streamline dub, definitely look it up because the results are like 1980s anime cheese hilarious because like old dubbing is what everybody complained about back in the day, like before really big.
Right. So sorry, was that everything you had to say? I mean, this is way more your side of things, and like, so I don't know what else to honestly add because like I'm literally learning as I talk to you, Akira. Like I didn't know any of these things, so
No,
sorry.
that's good. Like honestly, I was hoping I would show you some stuff about this movie you didn't know before because like there's a lot of history to this movie.
We could do a separate podcast. Like,
Yeah,
on the
we could
history
like
of it, honestly,
research
because
the making of the movie from like start to finish. You know, if we want to, we might do that. We'll see if anybody wants to see that.
All right, let's get into final
please.
thoughts though, because we've been recording for quite a while.
Time to come
All
down
right.
to a close, I think.
So honestly, I'm gonna keep mine short and sweet. Like amazing movie. I really feel like the way you described where you said it's a rite of passage. Like any anime fan needs to watch this. So true. And I really like just 2 things. I was Googling about this, and here's a fun fact. So apparently when Tokyo was chosen to host the 2020 Summer Olympics in 2013, a lot of people were saying that like Akira predicted the future.
yeah.
So I thought
it's insane how accurate that was. Like, I don't know how they figured that out. I assume that I'm just gonna assume that it was like pure coincidence. That's the only thing that I can think of.
honestly, me too. And like I'm happy we were doing this in 2019 because this is the year of Neo Tokyo.
And I am sadly
So, yeah,
disappointed
that's
with the state
everything.
of Japan. It looks nothing like the movie I thought I'd see.
Oh my god! All right, your turn, Kyo.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to say like the best way to describe this movie is we said it several times. Unconventional, unorthodox, just completely unique. Like admittedly there are other movies that have the same kind of setting of like Neo Tokyo or whatever, like Ghost in the Shell, Metropolis, I think, oh no, not Steam Boy, but there's several other movies that came out after Akira that inspired like future anime. And the best thing that I can say is that even if you don't like it, I feel like it's a movie that you have to respect for like streamline or bringing anime to the mainstream and giving us all the action that we could ever possibly want. Yeah,
100% agree with you on that, Kyo. Oh, it's just this one is so.
This
good.
is a very
one was
yeah.
a
This
special
I
podcast.
can't believe it took us this long to like have this one as a particular or as a specific podcast. I can't believe we didn't even like bring it up the entire time that we've worked on this show.
Yeah, because I brought it up to you once. Recently, I was like, "Hey, I'm rewatching Akira." You're like, "Rewatching? You've seen this before?" I'm like, "Yeah, I've seen it a long time ago, but I love it." He's like, "Dude, we need a podcast about this." I'm like, "Okay."
Yeah, I couldn't
we're doing
believe
it.
I
All right,
couldn't
let's-
believe that we had never like brought it up because like the first time I saw it, I wasn't a fan of it, but like I rewatched it after I went to college, and I fell in love with this movie when I watched it again. So, like, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. All right, let's plug away here. I'll go ahead first. So let's make it a bit different. Okay, so if you want to support the podcast, give us a like on Facebook, facebook.com/anime podcasters. You can subscribe to the podcast on soundcloud.com/JaianMusic, on youtube.com/JaianMusic. We're on Google Play, the Apple Podcast app, and we are also on Spotify. Go give us a like, go give us a 5-star review. Support us with all of those things. And for myself, you can find me on Twitter at JaianMusic. My Facebook page is also at JaianMusic, and so is my Instagram. Patreon.com/JaianMusic. You can follow JaianMusic on Discord. And finally, if you want to hire me for audio services, for music, composition, mixing, mastering, sound design, audio restoration, voice acting, vocal pitch correction. I do too many things. Kyo, too many things. JaianMusic.com. All right, that's all I got.
All right,
Go
if
ahead,
you guys
Kyo.
would like to support me in any way, feel free to check out my Twitter at GoProKyo and my YouTube channel also at GoProKyo. If you guys want to hire me as well, I have a website coming up fairly soon. I'm almost finished with it. You guys can get the link to that directly on my YouTube channel or through my Twitter. It'll be the first thing pinned to the very top of the webpage. And if you guys are interested in anime parodies or just general cartoons or goofiness, I will be posting fairly soon on my GoProKyo channel. And I really appreciate you guys for watching this. I hope you guys had a great time as much as we did. So I think I'll have to go ahead and say that this will be the end of the podcast for today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Anime Podcasters. Thank you so much for 5,000 plays. That's insane. And here's to another 5,000. All right.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of Anime Podcasters. If you would like to support the podcast, you can find audio downloads on Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, and Google Play. If you would like to support the voices in this podcast, follow their links in the description and the Twitter handles on screen. See you next time, leads.